Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing great. And I'm back again quite late this time with another video on H4 related information. So before we begin, I would like to introduce myself as usual. My name is Rashmi Bes, and for your kind information, I am not an immigration advisor for any kind of US related visa. Whatever information I'm sharing is just related to H4 and H4 visas, and it's coming right out of my personal experience and the people I met during my journey in United States. So let's start. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the next step. In last video, I talked about how an H4 person can spend or utilize the first 6 months or like first 1 year, so that uh, it gives them a path ahead for upcoming days or upcoming years. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the H4 to F1 and the possibilities. Like there after couple of year or after a time span or after few years, some of the H4 decides to go on student visa. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So basically I have divided group of people into two groups, like two H4 groups. So these are kind of people with their expertise or with their background, and how they can handle it, or should they get enrolled for F1. So we're going to talk about it. So let's start with the first group of people. So in the first group of people, I would say these are those people who are in their 20s, who have not done their masters or higher studies in whatever the parent country or the other countries before entering United States. So they have just done the bachelor's and they came here and they are in their 20s. They are highly ambitious. They really want to just focus on studies, and their goal is to achieve master's degree or an MBA from a prestigious or whatever XYZ university, and they have good financial background. So this kind of people are in less percent. I would say 1 or 2% of people are like that, or maybe they fall under 1% out of 100. Because definitely everyone wants to study here, but ultimately the end of that is end goal of F1 is getting work permit or work here and settle down. So I would say let's directly jump onto the point. On the first group of people who are on H4 and they have good finances, they want to purely study, achieve their higher studies or higher degrees here, and they are in their 20s. So I would say, if your target or your goal is just to get your masters done, or really pursue the studies here in any of the universities, so I would say don't go on F1. You have everything that you need to get enrolled in university. Just go through that entrance examination, whatever the necessity from the university. Some of the universities are asking for IELTS, GMAT, or there are different. So just fulfill that, get enrolled, and go for your studies. And parallelly ask your husband or spouse who is H1 to apply for green card, get I-140 approved, and while you're studying, you enter the third semester of your university, you will have EAD in your hand. So keep the process going parallelly, with your studies while you're on H4. So for those kind of people, for those group of people, there is no need to go on F1 specifically and study. You can also study on H4, and later once you think now you're ready for work, meanwhile your husband can apply for green card, you can get H4 EAD and you can continue working. So you fulfill both the criterias. You studied whatever your dream plan was, and now you can work as well. Yeah, so let's talk about the next group of H4 people, or next group of H4 individuals who are having a different criteria. They are quite in late 20s, or they are in 30s, almost in the age of settling down. And of course, I'm not saying they don't have dreams to study outside, but in this criteria, this H4 individuals have already done their masters or MBAs or higher studies in whatever country earlier, before coming to United States. So this criteria fits well to them. So in this criteria, again I have subdivided into two. So we'll talk about the first one. So the first one, those H4 who have already done masters, they're in the age of settling down and everything, but now they feel like they cannot sit more at home. It's almost more than 6 months, and they don't find a way out, and now they want to go on F1. They want to study, and ultimately they want to get work permit out of F1 after 1 year or two, whatever, right? Via CPT, OPT, or whatever. So let me tell you guys, this going on F1 and finding the way to work here, it's not easy. It takes lot of things. First is money, your time, patience, and of course ultimate, or I would say the end result of this is backlog of green card, because you cannot stay longer on F1 OPTs. You have to go on H1, and then again H1 is like repeated process, so you end up in the same process that your spouse has followed. So I would say the first group of people, if you have background in engineering, I would say first try to apply H1 visa. If you are not getting selected in that lottery process of H1, then you can immediately think about getting enrolled in F1. But make sure you have that finances, either family or wherever, or you want to do odd jobs, even jobs. But if you want to go on F1, first go through the H1 path, because you have done masters, probably you have worked earlier in your own country as well, so utilize that. And then if you fail there, then go for F1 without delaying. I'm just asking for one time to apply H1. Okay, for the other people who don't have the engineering background, for them I would say, for you guys, I would say have some patience. Okay, the another thing is, don't hurry, because you need to learn few things here. Another thing is, ask your husband to apply for the green card if he or she has not applied yet. If he has the I-140 approved, go for the H4 EAD and start working on it, whatever work you want to do. Okay, the another thing is, if he has not applied, please request him to apply the I-140, get H4 EAD, and don't jump on F1, because you will face lot of challenges. Again, the same thing, finances to study, because any kind of basic universities take nearly $10,000 to $20,000 budget or complete fee to get it done, right? And this is, if you convert in your own currency, it's not a small amount, and you have to work day and night if you don't have the financial background. So make sure you have that if you are really planning to go on F1. But basically, if you don't have the engineering background or something, I would say have patience. Ask your husband to take an initiative. Go for H4 EAD rather than going on F1 just for getting work permit, because it's not going to be worth it. It takes time as well. You will be frustrated. And just giving an example, in 2000, I think in 2020-21, my visa went in extension, and I was working that time. So there was a long I don't know, extension was taking too much time, and it was pathetic experience, and I was just waiting and waiting. So after frustration, I just enrolled in one of the universities, and everything was done, all the process. I had IELTS done, I got enrolled. Last step was just going for the fee and getting started with the tuitions and all. So I just stopped, because I plotted a plan on paper. I thought, okay, even if I go on F1, again, I will, after some time, after few years, I'll come back on H1, or again, I will come back on H4. And then at the end, I will go for green card, and again, I'll stand in the backlog. So why don't I just need some patience. Let's take a vacation. And then, until that time, the H4 EAD will be extended. I'll be back again. I'll start working. So I just planned by mine, and I said, no, I cannot go for this university. And then I stopped. And by God's grace, suddenly the extension came. I took a small vacation. I started working again. So sometime you have to have that patience, because F1 is not easy. It's not easy. Those practical trainings and all, they are we feel you get the work permit, but you need to always keep extending the F1 visas if you don't get selected for H1 again. Otherwise you have to come back on H4. So why to go into that mess up, or in that dirt when you are just getting stuck there? So better, if you don't have that background, you cannot apply directly on H1. I would say have patience and wait for the extension. And now a good news is there, that a few days back there was a actually court case running after H4 to stop H4 EADs, and it's dismissed now. So there is some positive news about H4 EAD that they can keep working on. There was another backlog, or I would say there was another cons about H4, that the H4 extension was taking time. But now there is a premium processing. When your H1 extension is going on, you can apply your H4 and H4 EAD extension along with that, in premium processing, and you get that approved, I think, within a month. So it's good news that you don't need to wait like how I waited earlier. So both things are positive. One, H4 EAD is not going to stop, that case is dismissed. Another is the extension has come in the premium processing. So only thing is, to be applicable for H4 EAD, you need that process to be started, which is green card. And I think you're all set. In next video, we'll talk about, like, is F1 or student visa in United States or student visa in Canada is good for the H4 people, because I also tried for Canadian student visa earlier. So I'll share my experience. And for a long term plan, like, we'll talk about, like, the nearby country where you can go for the student visa and how it can help you to settle down in long term and, like, finally settle down as a citizen, right? So that's all from my end, and thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.